Ready, Taj?
This is Kids Pop 90. God.
That's all you.
That is me. Hello everyone and welcome to Delos, where we will take you for a ride through the stars.
We are your hosts, Tony and
Tasa.
And we're about to get astral as fuck. So a lot of people are familiar with modern astrology. Horoscopes, memes, and media are bringing a lot of eyes to what was at some point considered heretical and even sinister or satanic.
Praise Satan.
And yet, where does it come from? Mankind has long held a fascination with the stars and motions of the heavenly bodies. Obsession with the stars can be seen even in ancient Egyptian pyramids, which were built in the alignment with the starry hosts, such as the Great Pyramids, which align precisely with the constellation of Orion. There is also the Rhododendron zodiac, a bas-relief dedicated to Osiris in the Temple of Hathor. This contains some of the earliest depictions of the zodiac, featuring both Taurus and Libra, dating back to as early as 50 BC.
I once heard, are we human because we gaze at the stars, or do we gaze at the stars because we're human? Astrology is defined as the study of the movements and relative positions of celestial bodies interpreted as having an influence on human affairs and the natural world. And there's proof that we've believed that for a long time. Dr. Nicholas Campion, in his book, A History of Western Astrology, reports that the remains of early Homo sapiens have been buried with animal bones, carved with what appear to be 28 to 29 notches. These mark the days of the lunar month. Such remains can be found to date back to as early as 35,000 BCE. The Venus of Lhasa, which is another beautiful prehistoric remnant of art, depicts a woman carved in limestone holding a horned crescent moon with 13 notches, one for each moon that makes up a year. This is both a beautiful testament to man's adoration and sense of connection to the heavens, as well as a nod to the sacredness of the divine feminine and woman's spiritual association with the moon.
But it wasn't until the Babylonians in the 2nd millennium BC that astrology arose as an organized system. The Babylonians were the first people to combine myths and astronomical information and describe the first symbols of the zodiac. The Greeks later borrowed some of their myths from the Babylonians and came up with their own, such as the myth of the Pleiades or the Seven Sisters. According to Greek myth, the Pleiades were said to be the 7 daughters of the mighty Titan Atlas and the beautiful nymph Pleione. The starry hosts were said to be in service to the goddess Artemis, and when Atlas was given the cruelest sentence of holding the world, the daughters were left defenseless from the pursuit of the great hunter Orion. Orion relentlessly pursued the sisters until Zeus looked down from heaven and took pity on them, transforming them into the 7 stars in order to evade his advances. This is just one of the countless lores that spawn fanciful stories and, as we'll see later on, organized religions.
It's not hard to see why astrology and myth combined dazzled the ancients, moving and inspiring them to search the endless expanse of the sky to determine the will of the gods. In fact, Alexander the Great loved astrology almost as much as he loved boning Hephaestion. Around 331 BCE, while Alexander the Great was off gallivanting and mercilessly slaughtering everyone in his path during his conquest of Asia, he was enraptured in the mystical and esoteric teachings of Syria, Babylon, Persia, and Central Asia. He admired it so greatly, he overtook cuneiform and immediately had the astrological knowledge translated into Greek. Even the word astrology, as well as the science of astronomy, is derived from the Greek word for star, Asteria, which is no doubt a derivative of the cosmic Greek goddess herself, Asteria. By the 1st century BC, astrology bloomed into 2 major varieties. One was a close examination of horoscopes in order to decipher the past, understand the present, and predict the future. The other was used as a philosophical map to the ascension of human consciousness and the pursuit of mortal meaning in the sky. And for a time, astrology flourished until the advent of Christianity and basically the death of anything fun.
Yeah, unfortunately. By 312 CE, Emperor Constantine I declared Christianity a legal state religion, Christianizing the rest of the entire empire. Then by 325, he presided over one of the most famous gatherings in history and one that would shape the book that changed the West, the Council of Nicaea. This was when the Bible was being formed, and church leaders fought for orthodoxy. The early church rejected astrology as teachings from fallen angels, and therefore inherently evil. as was any knowledge that was not biblically founded. And from there forward began the reign of the church and hundreds of years of suppression and condemnation of knowledge that was found to be occult in nature. Basically fucking everything up for everyone. Leave it to the early church to turn stargazing into devil worship.
Praise Satan.
But that didn't stop astrology from thriving. Like much of the occult sciences, it learned to adapt and mold itself into the contemporary and more acceptable appearance. Astrologers and occultists of the early days saw the symbolism of Christianity and related it back to the stars, as many of man's stories are parodies of the planetary movements. According to Roy Gillett's Secret Language of Astrology, early Christian astrologists interpreted the biblical account as such. Taurus was the Garden of Eden given to man, but was lost due to Scorpio, Taurus's opposite, temptation to sin. In an act of redemption, Virgo, or Mary, gave birth to Leo, the Lion of Judah, and Pisces, the Fisher of Men, Jesus, who sacrificed himself for our sins to be resurrected as Aries, thus the beginning of a new cycle. As a former Christian, this interpretation made sense to me, and when analyzing the Bible through the eyes of the mystical, we can see Jesus' teachings laced with astrological symbolism, conveying truths only the discerning would catch. For example, Jesus was visited by 3 magi, or 3 kings, as they're often romantically referred, which, of course, is another name for the constellation of Orion. It is also interesting to note Jesus' constant imagery of Pisces, such as he greets 2 fishermen, he feeds 5,000 with loaves of bread and fish. He's said to teach us to be fishers of men. He walked on water. There are even crowns and other adornments that the Pope wears that bear resemblance to the fish, as well as the popular Jesus fish we've all seen on the back of every asshole car that cuts you off in traffic. Also, Jesus' constant teachings of loving others, compassion, total selflessness, and sacrifice for the good of others totally lines up more with his Piscean energy, because December 25th, I think we all know that Capricorn ain't laying their life down for nobody. Jesus' birth also heralded the arrival of the age of Pisces, which we're coming to the close of. Before this was the age of Aries, which began with Moses, and to this day, Jews make use of the shofar, a musical horn traditionally belonging to, you guessed it, a ram. So Jesus' title as Alpha and Omega, being both the first and last, makes more sense when looked at him from the lens of the ending of the law and the prophets that began with Moses, Aries, to the signing of the new covenant, which ends with Pisces. The 12 apostles represent the 12 signs of the zodiac, following the Son of God. Jesus even makes an interesting allusion to this beginning in Luke 22:9 when the apostles gather for the Passover. Go and make preparations for the Passover, Jesus says. Where do you want us to prepare for it? The apostles ask, to which Jesus responds, as you enter the city, a man carrying a jar of water will meet you. Follow him to the house that he enters. Clearly, this imagery of Aquarius, the man carrying a jug of water, the water bearer, which will be following the age of Pisces as the universe clock resets itself and works its way once again through the ages of the zodiac. Follow him into the house that he enters. Again, the movement of the sun into the next house, Aquarius, the beginning of a new age. It's also curious to note that the apostles are actually feasting in the house, indicating the culmination of knowledge in the age to come. Even the Our Father prayer echoes occult truths.
Thy kingdom come, thy will be done on earth as it is in heaven.
As above, so below. The old occult principle rearing itself once again in plain text in the Bible. It's no wonder that medieval witches and magicians use the Bible as a spell book, as well as voodoo practitioners who read the Psalms for words of power. Magic has always been hidden in plain sight. You just need the right set of eyes to see it.
As man succumbed to his curiosity of the unknown, astrology found itself in the limelight once again, with history's first 007 agent, John Dee. Dee was a renowned mathematician, astronomer, scholar, occultist, and spy for the English court, whose love of the stars and their governing forces on Earth quickly found favor with none other than Queen Elizabeth I. Elizabeth trusted his counsel and advice from the beyond and powers that be, so much that she even charged him with the task of picking the perfect date for her coronation. And this wouldn't be the first time astrology and divination were royal court favorites. The famous prophet Nostradamus was also a known advisor to Queen Catherine de' Medici, one of Europe's oldest and most noble bloodlines.
Astrology has fluctuated throughout time, both dismissed and sought after. But that being said, astrology should always honor free will, for we must also understand that man governs the stars and is not ruled by them. It is only a map of likely outcomes based off of what was happening in the sky during the time or the birth or event.
Astrology should serve as a cosmic map and guideline to your life and nature of the world around us, but it's not an exact science and shouldn't be treated as such either. And although we have found the information is often accurate, it's not something to let govern every aspect of your lives.
Next week, we're going to get into your sun sign and what it means, and we hope to have you back as we begin our voyage into the mysteries of your natal chart and all the fun little things that make you tick.
And of course, be sure to like, subscribe, and comment below.
And that being said, merry meet,
Merry part,
and merry meet again.